20, okay, work my way from about 20 minutes to almost an hour of just really feeling, how they feel, walking around the house. So I did that. I bought myself a pair of skates, put the guards on, walking around the house, doing dishes, doing laundry, whatever. And I found myself just automatically starting to do what I do for beginning point class. So I started doing some pliés and relevés, just demi-plié and relevé at the counter where I was washing the dishes, and felt how hard it was to straighten my knee, how hard it was to bend my knee with the skate kind of pushing against my ankle in the front, trying to do tendu, pointing my foot, and how hard it was to point my foot and keep my knee straight, doing some développés and realizing how heavy the skate was. And so I really was getting into it. I got a notebook, went down on the floor and started doing some Pilates kind of exercises. And I took all those notes and I took them to my coach the first time that we met together. And she was pretty impressed with what I had done. I wasn't really thinking it was a big deal. I just said, this is what I did. And I was more impressed because she told me that no one that she knew of had ever gone into such detail about working with the skates off ice. And so I was very surprised at that because I figured, well, the skate is the exact weight that you need, right? You're not using ankle weights. You're not using anything outside of what you normally use. So I thought, well, this is perfect, right? The ankle is, your foot is in the weight that it needs to be in. So I thought, well, when you work on point shoes, right, you always have to learn again how to plie because it's very different. If you've ever had point shoes on, the point part is kind of raised up and your heels are kind of down. You have to learn how to plie, you have to learn how to releve, you have to learn to do all of these things. And you just really want to take that time to do that before you can't just get up there and dance. And so I was very surprised that this wasn't like an everyday occurrence for skaters to really get to know their skates off ice first. So anyway, I made up some classwork for my new students. They absolutely loved it. And it's always been my skaters' favorite class to take because it's immediately transferable to the ice. They understand it immediately. You get immediate results from it. And so I love passing this on to as many coaches as I possibly can. Now, I realize that coaches don't have a lot of time to do this. So you might want to think about how you could incorporate these things into your Skates On program. Even kids as young as 4 and 5 years old can get the feeling of what it feels like to point. When you tell your student, bend your knees, and they think they're bending, they say, I am bending my knees, or point your feet, I am pointing my feet. But there's that disconnect because the ankle is really bound in the skate. All right. And you can't feel it like automatically on the ice. That's really expecting a lot out of anybody, a kid or an adult. And so to be able to work with them just once on the ice, because usually on the ground, because usually when you tell them to point their foot, they're actually crimping their toes. They really aren't pointing with a plantar flexion and then placing the toes flat on the boot. And you really don't have time to just take off every kid's skate and, do this sort of thing. But if you could have one class where they just experimented and felt what it feels like, it would make all the difference from there on in. Okay, so a number of I just want to give you a few more advantages. Again, you're working with your own weight. The weight of the skate is what you need to work with. You're learning how to work with the toes. All of the toes are connected actually in the lower leg, all right? The foot has 29 muscles in it, and 10 of those muscles originate in the lower leg. And all of these muscles are working to push you off for jumps, especially the big toe. That muscle wraps around the back of the lower leg and it connects into those deep muscles of the fibula. That's one of the muscles that moves. This way you have the tibia on the front and the fibula is moving. Just a little science so you can understand. Those deep muscles are the ones that are our stabilizer muscles. If you ever saw my last thing that I did last year for AIT, and we talked about stabilizer muscles as opposed to mobilizer muscles. Those stabilizer muscles are what's keeping you erect, what gives you good proprioception. And again, they're all tight in that boot. So you want to be able to feel that without velocity, without worrying about elements or anything. Another thing, I have some notes here because I tend to get off on rabbit trails, so I want to make sure I've hit all the notes for you. Bending your knees in the skates. Again, they always think they're bending their knees, right? And they're not bending their knees, or just very, very little amount, okay? So this will help them to learn how to bend their knees and to just somatically connect their mind-body connection so that when they get out on the ice, you can say, remember how that felt when we were off ice and you were bending your knees? That's what I want you to feel here. And you can even do it at the boards, because I have a thing called bar at the boards, and it's the same exercises so that you can transfer it right away. Another thing is feeling the knee pulled up instead of locking the knees. We'll talk about that later. You're not locking the knees, you're pulling the knees up so that the knee is protected all the way around. When you lock the knees, you are actually creating at the back of the knee a situation where you can really damage the tendons in the back of the knee. Okay, so pulling them up and tightening the quads while pointing the foot is something that is very, very hard to do unless you can take the time to absorb what the feeling really feels like. You can't just demand it of your students and expect there to be results. Another thing I've noticed is that when the foot is cramped, when it's crunched, you actually can't straighten your knee. You'll see a lot of kids with their foot kind of almost flexed and they think they're pointing their foot and their knee cannot straighten. Your knee cannot straighten unless your feet, the plantar flexion is complete, all right? It's just biomechanically, it can't happen. So pointing your foot correctly has everything to do with whether your knee can actually be straight or not. And when you're on the standing leg, the supporting leg, pulling up your knee and not swaying it back to lock it, all right, is going to protect the knee from damage as well. So there's a lot of different things. Toe ball heel, working toe ball heel. And I know those skates are very stiff and you're not going to feel a lot of that, but even a little bit of that feeling is going to help them to work the foot, especially the front of the ankles and the shins, to be able to get higher jumps. Yes, we use our gluteus maximus for jumps. We use the back line for all of those jumps, but it does have a lot to do, and the softness of the landing has to do with the front of the lower leg. So this is really, really important to just get that feel, not just during the jump, but working off ice so you can kind of put that into your mind-body connection before you even start doing jumps. And then in multiplanar movements, that skate is pretty heavy. Velocity takes up some of that feeling of weight, right? The faster you go, the less it feels heavy, right? But when you're off the ice, learning how to lift the legs from the gluteals and take it into multiplanar movement without tilting way over, right? Learning how to do a développé and stretch and keep the body tall and lifted, not having to worry about velocity is something I think is very important. You know how we have, you'll have a skater take the skate and lift it up and then let go and it plops to the ice. And I tell my students, I'm not really impressed with that. I mean, yay, you're flexible, but you need the strength to hold it up there too. So this is a place where we can work on that off the ice, where you're not thinking about anything else. You can learn to do a développé and let go and slowly drop it down as you begin to strengthen your muscles. So without going into any more science or anything else, what we're going to do, I highly encourage you to join me sitting on the floor. I hope you're wearing something comfortable, that you're not, you don't have your skates on yet, because we're going to do just some somatic exercises. We're going to feel the lower leg and how it works with the toes and the feet and the ankles. And so I'm going to tilt this down a little bit, and we're going to go to the floor, and then we're going to do some myofascial massages, and then we'll get the skates on. Okay, so bare feet. All right. And I'll tilt it down a little bit more and get my chair out of the way. All right. All right, can everybody see me? Thumbs up if you can see me. Yeah, thumbs up, all good. All right, good. Okay, so what I want you to do then is I want you to take your hands and wrap them around the calf muscle and the lower leg. So put one around the calf muscle, the lower calf muscle, and one around the lower leg. And I want you to just experiment. You don't have to do it at my pace. You can do it at your pace, but I want you to grab tightly so you can feel the muscles. And I want you to lift all your toes, spread the toes out, lower the toes and press them down, and try to just maybe point your foot with the toes flat on the floor. Point your toes all the way. Spread the toes out and flex your feet. And slowly do some rotations. See what it's like to try to do individual toes. See what that does, just pressing the pinky toe down, pressing the big toe down, and just work with it a little while. Take your time, and then go to the other foot, other leg, and see if there are any differences, if one is a little bit more sensitive than the other. Feel your calf muscle working. All of these muscles are going down across the ankle and into the foot. All right. And later on, you can take notes and maybe go in the chat and tell me what you're feeling. You can invert, evert, flex hard and feel these muscles working. So evidently, right? Just go up like this if you felt a lot more than you thought you were going to feel. Did you feel a lot more than you thought you were going to feel? Yeah, for most of you, the thumbs are up, and it's just amazing what our foot is doing, or what this is doing to our feet. And so we need to use this for all the power, for all the strength, for all the proprioception and balance, we need to be aware of this. And as I said, even kids are fascinated with their own bodies. If you present it in a way where they are really experiencing what's going on in that state, I have never had a kid who wasn't interested in this, right? It might not be ballet to them at this point, but it's more important. It's figuring out how to work your foot in the skate. All right, so now we're going to go on to the myofascial massages. I do this at every seminar and every course that I teach, so some of you may know about this, but I'm going to do 2 of them. There are literally hundreds of these that release the whole body so that we're not forcing our bodies to do things that's not ready for. So just very quickly, for those of you who don't know what myofascia is, it's a very thin film. If you've ever had a steak, it covers muscles. And when you cut the steak, there's that thin film that's holding that steak together. So we have sheets of this all through our bodies, inside, outside, and it holds the muscles together. A lot of times when we think that our muscles are stiff, it isn't the muscles that are stiff, it's the myofascia that's stiff. So we start ripping at our muscles and trying to make sure that they stretch, and we shouldn't be doing it. We should be massaging the myofascia, softening it up so the muscles can do what they're supposed to do. So we're going to do 2 lines. We're doing the back line, and that goes from, it's 1 sheet, and it goes from the toes all the way back, all the way up the spine, the neck, and it attaches at the occipital bones right here at the eyes. So if you have a neck ache, you could have a lower back, you think you have a stiff lower back, might not even be that. Stiff hamstrings, stiff Achilles, what it is most likely is stiff myofascia, first and foremost. So we're going to just do a pre-test, and we're going to just go into a straddle, okay? And go into just a mild straddle so that it doesn't hurt, okay? This is just to feel what you feel like before you stretch or before you exercise, okay? So try to sit up straight. You want your feet flexed, toes up to the ceiling, knees up to the ceiling, and then just lean forward until it's a little bit ouchy, all right? Just so you're feeling it, but don't press it, okay? And look and see where your legs are, like how wide they are apart, okay? And how far forward you can go with a flat back, not hunching over, and just take note of that, all right? And how the back of the legs are feeling. All right, so now we're going to do the myofascial massage. There are 7 points to this one, and they're listed in the notes that I gave you, so we're just going to go through them. The first one is you're going to take the knuckles, not the flat. Now, I know a lot of people use a ball, a roller ball on their feet. This is 100 times better because you're getting in touch with your own body. You aren't using an instrument for it. You're using your own hands. So the knuckles, and you're going to twist and grind into the bottom of the foot, the sole of the foot, and it will feel uncomfortable. The harder you do it, the more it's going to telegraph all the way up to the top, okay? But don't overdo it so that you hurt yourself, but it has to be quite forceful. And you're using that twisting motion, and you're going to do the whole bottom of the foot to the arch, the ball of the foot, down the middle. And you can also use a little bit of lotion. Sometimes I do that too, and it's easier both on your knuckles and the bottom of the foot. So really work hard to twist, and it's got to be the tips of the knuckles, not the flat. So that's 1. 2 is pulling the toes back. Just pull all those toes back, each individually, so it gets to its extreme bending. And then you're going to crunch. That's not a point, that's a real crunch, so that you're contracting the muscles. So that's 3. Then you're going to spread the toes out. Really make your toes work, just like you would do this with your fingers. And then you're going to spread them out manually. Pull them away from each other. Middle one can go side to side. All right, really work pulling them apart. And then you're going to take your fingers on the outside and the palm on the inside and squeeze the foot in half, all right? One of my students says, folding it like a taco, all right? Really squeeze hard, squeeze in from the toes to the ankle, to the heel. And then the last one is, now don't stretch, overstretch. You don't want to stretch here too much, just until it's comfortable. And then you're going to rub those knuckles sideways across the thigh, all right, the hamstrings, particularly behind the knee and even into the calf muscle, because there are deep lines there as well, all right? And then you're going to go back into that straddle and really focus on the feeling. Now, just lean forward and feel the difference between the one we didn't do and the one that we did. 2 thumbs up if you're feeling it looser on that side. All right, 2 thumbs up. And the more you do this, the more you're going to feel it. Okay, all right, now let's do the other side, and we'll go through all 7 again. Knuckles only, twisting, digging in, getting the whole surface of the foot. Make sure you get by the heel. And you know, this has to do with acupressure as well. I find that when I do this, I feel release in breathing as well, deep breathing. And that's always helpful. It's oxygen to the body and the brain. And then the second one is pulling the toes back, each one individually as far as it will go. That's 2. 3 is crunching, so you're contracting, right? And then 4 is spreading the toes out by themselves. I have a bunion, so it doesn't spread on the side. And then spreading them out manually, as far apart as they can go. And then the fold, fingers on the outside, palm inside, and squeezing. Take your time, don't rush through it. Talk to your feet. Have to work hard for you. All right, squeezing all the way down, ankle to heel. And then the last one, without damaging anything here, then you're going to take those knuckles again, origin and insertion of the hamstrings, loosening them behind the knee, very important. You don't want anything tearing, and even a little bit in between the calf muscle, you know, it splits, right? You want to get in that area as well. And now let's go and see how that feels and come forward. Nice deep breath and relax into it. And you see, you haven't even really warmed up, and yet you feel warmed up, right? Yeah. Yeah, and that's just one of many. All right, now we're going to do for pointing of the feet. Okay, Now, when I teach pointing of the feet to my students without the skates on, I always have them flex first, then they go into a plantar flexion with the ball of the foot here, and then I put my hand here and I have them press the toes flat. So it doesn't crunch, no crunching, all right? Ball and then flat. It's a very different feeling than trying to crunch the toes. You'll see some gymnastics when they have with the pennants and all of that, right? I can't think of the name of it right now, but, and they're crunching their toes. Don't do that, all right? Keep them flat, and we'll work with that in the boot as well. All right, so the pre-test again for pointing. You're gonna sit up nice and tall, put the legs together in parallel, and you're gonna do that flex, and then just to the balls, plantar flexion, and then pressing the toes down. And I want you to feel the knees pulled up and squeeze in, and just see how well pointed your feet are, all right? So it's not a competition. Again, it's to judge from before and after, okay? Just look where they are, and now we're going to work on the front line, okay? So this one only has 3, okay? So you're gonna take those knuckles again, and you're gonna go from the kneecap all the way down across the ankle to the top of the foot. And we're gonna go kind of hard again, and this is 1, and just as hard on the way up is an and. And you can do that with no tights on sometime with lotion. 2, we're gonna do at least 10. And right on that tibia bone, all the way down hard across the ankle. 3, and up as hard as you can. 4, go slowly, and you can go on the outside a little bit so you get more muscles and the fascia. 5, and 6, and all the way up to the kneecap. 7, and 8, and we're just going to do 10, 9, on the outside a little bit, getting more of it, and last one, 10, and then we're going to take our hands this way, and we're going to squeeze, and I want you to just relax your foot on the floor and squeeze, coming all the way down to across the ankle, but take your time, getting in touch with the way your muscles feel. And trust me, the kids like doing this. I know it sounds weird, but they do. All of my students do this. And back up again. All the way up to the knee. And then we're going to cross that leg over as we did for the first one. We're going to take the same hand as leg in a stop position and put it behind the Achilles, like you're cupping the Achilles tendon. Then you're going to take the opposite hand this way, and you're going to pull towards you. So this hand is pushing away, and this one is pulling towards you. And you're going to pull and push simultaneously. Don't hurt yourself, but you want to feel that stretch. You want to feel it all the way up, and you don't want to sickle. You don't want to do this. You want it straight or down to the floor. And make sure you feel all the toes loosening up. All right? And now go do that point again and see 2 thumbs up if you see a difference. Do you see a difference in the point? All right? You haven't shoved your foot under a couch You haven't tortured it in any way. You've coaxed it into doing what it already knew how to do. And this is what myofascial massage is all about, and understanding how your body works without forcing it. All right, we're going to go a little bit faster on this side because then we're going to get the skates on. So let's just go through those three. And here we go with the knuckles, starting at the knee, and work it down on one, and just as hard on the way up, and two, across the ankle, because remember all of those 10 muscles that go across, right? 3, and 4, and 5. Remember to go as hard as you can without hurting yourself. 6, and a little bit on the outside so you can get more surface area. 8, and all the way up to the knee. 9, and 10, and the squeeze. Take your time, feel those muscles, relax the foot on the floor, just completely relax it, and squeeze across the ankle. And then you're going to squeeze back up all the way. You're going to feel the peroneals. You're going to feel all those muscles that help you jump and articulate your foot. And so the same hand as leg is going behind the Achilles, the opposite one this way. Don't let the foot sickle. Make sure it stays down. And simultaneously push and pull. Give it a little bit of a shake and feel that stretch coming all the way up to the knee. And then point. Do a couple of flexes and points, and I think you're going to feel both the back and the front feeling looser, right? Yes, you feel it? It feels a little bit looser. And I said, the more you do this, the more you're going to feel it. All right, let's get our skates on. We're going to put both skates on, and we're going to work on the floor a little bit. And don't forget to write down some questions if you have any questions for later on so that we can work with that. I'm not going to be doing anything with music today because we're just really working on how to do this and why it's important to go slowly. So I'm going to talk a moment about music and counting. So when I teach, especially teaching beginners, each count, you're not going to believe this, but each count is about almost 2 minutes long. All right. Everything that we do these days is way too fast. You cannot make a mind-body connection, really feeling what you're doing with such fast movement. This way, you get a chance to really absorb, concentrate, and focus on the movement. And it works a lot better because when you make that mind-body connection, it lasts. And you won't make mistakes, and you don't have to fix something, all right? You don't have to go back and fix it. You've done it right from the first. So if you want to leave just the first, the top 2 knobs free, all right, this time, leave it a little looser than you normally would on the ice, just so you can get a real feel for the plie a little bit more without being frustrated with it the first time. And then later on, when you want to do this on your own, you can tighten it to its full, what you would normally do on the ice. And of course, make sure you have your guards on. And if you have a chair handy, we're not going to use it right away, but if you have a chair handy, I'm not expecting people to have a portable bar or anything. You can just use that later on. And again, just leave the laces a little bit loose at the top. All right. I'm going to give everybody just about a minute more, 30 seconds more. When you're ready, you can show me that you're ready by just sitting on the mat with your skates on, okay? For those of you who have your video on. All right, so you can just sit down on the mat. If you don't want to do these with your skates on, that's totally fine. In fact, when I do this with my beginners, a lot of times we just do this without skates on, all right, because then you can really get a feel for it. And then I build on that so that they'll do maybe 2 or 3 exercises with the skates on, and then we just keep building from there. So if you want to try it without the skates on, that's great too. Okay, all right, let's get going. Okay, so I'm going to do it, and then you are going to try it out, maybe take some notes. All right, I'm going to do this from 2 angles. The first thing I do with the students is I stand while they do this. You're going to lie down on the floor. I'm going to do this from the side first. Can you see my feet? Yeah, thumbs up if you can see my feet. If you can't, do this. Okay, all right. Okay, so flexing hard, and then demi-point and point. So you are really going through all of that feeling. When the skate is, when you are really pointed, the ball of the foot is pressing into the boot and the heel is off the boot, all right, off the floor of the boot. So try it again a couple of times, and you can hold on to the bottoms of your leg, the lower leg, and feel those muscles working again. I'm going to do it from this angle so that you can see what I'm doing. Flex, demi-point, point, and feel the muscles working. Flex, demi-point, point, and don't let this happen. Keep the ankles together as much as you can. And flex hard, demi-point, and just the toes flat, not crunching, and heels off with the knees pointed, pulled up, excuse me, and try it a couple more times. All right, just work at your own pace and really feel those muscles working and how your toes feel in the boot. All right, good. And what I do is I walk around the class and I stand in front of them and I make sure their knees are pulled up and that they're really feeling it and that they're going slowly, flexing hard, demi-point and point, feeling those knees pulled up, quads tight, and all of that muscle action going on in the lower leg. Okay. All right, we're going to go on to the next real exercise, and that is we're going to go on to, I'm going to show it to you in 2 different angles, okay? So the heels are off the floor, you're in turnout, and you're on your elbows, and you're supporting the lower back, you're not sinking down, you're supporting the lower back, and the heels are off of the floor, if you can manage that. The first one is up in attitude. All right, and then you're going to crank the knee in, because every time we go out, we should go in. All right, this is not just ballet and turn out. So you're leaving the hips still, going out, bringing the knee slightly higher up to the shoulder, taking it out to the side, flex, turn in and out. So you're feeling that turn in and out in the hip socket, point and bring it back in. All right, I'm going to show it from the front. So your heels are off. You're going up, turning in without moving your hips, turn out a little bit more, flex, turning in and out, point, bring it down, keep this knee from moving. So you're tightening the glutes on both sides to anchor this knee and come up. And now we're going to do circles, all right? We're going to go down with a pointed foot, side and up. Flex and repeat it. Try to keep this leg still. Side and up. Flex and go around the other way. And up, point, side, down, up, and relax. And you can bring the legs up to your chest and do a deep breath. Relax your neck, stretch out, and try it again with the other leg. All right? Okay, so here we go. And heels off, tummy in, back straight. And one, and in, and out, and stretch and flex. Turn it in from the hip socket only, and out. Point, so you're going through demi-point and point. You want to articulate your foot, back in, stretching back out. And then the biggest circle you can possibly make without moving that opposite knee. So you're really tightening those deep abs and you're feeling how hard it is to do that. Flex, flex hard and go around again. And point and really tighten the gluteals and flex and come up and down, and you can go on your back again. Rest, deep breath, stretch. All right. Okay. All right. How many of you thought that was harder than you thought it would be? Yeah? Yeah, a lot going on. It's an exercise that shows us a lot of what's going on deep inside, right? Our stabilizer muscles, okay? So that's one of my preliminary exercises that all my skaters do. Now we're going to go on. Because we started a little bit late, I'm just going to do the second half of this next exercise, all right? Going into the stretch up and twist, full stretch up and twist. I'm just going to go into part 2 of that. All right, and I'm going to show it just from this angle. So the first half is like this. But the second half, which we're doing, is here. Now you can lower that leg that's on the floor as much as you want so that this leg isn't too high. But this leg that's on the floor with the heel on the floor is in parallel. Knee is up to the ceiling. The leg that's extended is touching the knee that's bent, and you're in turnout. and your foot is pointed. And this is based on a Pilates exercise. So we're going to really keep our core tight and pull the knee up of the supporting leg and keep that pointed. And you're stretching up. And you're going into third or fifth position. You're going to twist to look behind you and come up. Twist to look the other way and come up. Open and stretch the lower back. Stretch, 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 and lower. We'll do one more, and then we'll do it on the other side, okay? And up is 1, and 2. Twist and look behind you. I have one student says she doesn't know how to look behind herself when she's skating back. This helps. And 4, and 5, and 6, and a stretch of the spine, lift, 7, and 8. And now the other leg, and you'll notice one leg does a better job than the other because none of us is completely symmetrical. Nice deep breath first, and here we go, and 1, and 2, twist away, 3, back up on 4, twist, 5, and 6, and really lift the spine, 7, and 8, deep breath, and if that leg is too high, just lower it down, and 1, and 2, try to keep the spine long, looking behind you, 3, and 4, try to keep the foot pointed, 5, and 6, and stretch up, 7, and 8, and relax. And boy, does that skate feel heavy, right? Yeah. So who needs ankle weights? All right. I have 2 more to do on the floor, and then we're going to go to the bar, okay? So I'm going to do this one facing away from you. It's scissors, and it's basically changement de pied. We're going to do it in flex and point. I'll show it to you slowly, and then you can go faster. So you're here. All right, so you're in kind of a 5th position. All right, so you're in turnout and your hands can be on your hips. What you're trying for here is no action in the shoulders. Keep all the tension and the power in the pelvis, okay? Tighten the gluteals, relax the shoulders. So we're going changing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on 7, open into a V and point on 8. And go through that demi point and pointing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, open 7, flex 8. And 1, 2, 3, keep it crossed and feel it on the inside of the thighs, open, especially the upper thighs, and point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's try to go faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And just 4 of each. 1, 2, 3, 4, point, 2, 3, 4, flex, 2, 3, 4, feeling the inside of the thighs. Relax, and then do a stretch up, Stretch up. Nice deep breath. And lower slowly. Okay. Everybody okay? Still doing well? Yes? All right. This is the last one on the floor. And it's pretty difficult. We're going to do it only on one side. So pick the leg that works the best. All right. And we're just going to do it on one side. Okay. So I'm going to show this to you from the front. You can watch first. Okay. And then you can try it yourself. And again, this exercise in particular is very, very good to start with no skate on because it is very hard to do. Okay, so you're going to start on all fours. You're going to raise one leg and then the opposite arm comes forward. You're going to curl in so that the head touches the knee, curling in and coming back out, taking the leg to the side and coming forward. All right, so let's just try that part together, okay? You want to keep your whole body box, your torso as flat to the floor as possible. So when you go out to the side, you don't want to lift your hip, all right? You want to keep it down, all right? All right, here we go. And 2 counts in. 1, head to the knee on 2, take it out 3 and 4, to the side 5 and 6, bring it back 7 and 8. And again, 1, head to the knee 2, take it out 3 and 4, up 5 and 6, 7, one more time, and 1, and head to the knee 2, stretch 3 and 4, take it out to the side 5 and hold it there, and then change hands to here. So you're putting that hand down and the other arm comes up. So you were like this, you put that hand down and you come up. Take the leg across the front and drop it, lift it, take it back to an attitude, drop and lift, and drop and lift. And take it out one more time, and front, lift and back, drop and lift twice. And then you can watch this part and then do it yourself. Your hands are going to cross in front, head is down, elbows are on the floor, foot is down, and you're going to do a kick without arching your back. 1 and 2 and 3, and on 4, hold it, stretch up, and stretch the leg. And if you have a mirror, you have your students try to get their foot higher than their head. And then just do child pose to end. So you can try that yourself. Just do 1 or 2 kicks. What I'm looking for is no arching, all right? Keep the back very supported. And the kick is sharp and lowering is slow and controlled. So that's what you're looking for. Just do it once yourself. Don't arch the back, sharp up, control down. That's it. Because that's the way a grand battement would be, right? Sharp up, control down. Try to keep that knee pulled up and feeling that pressure of the toes, the flat toes in the boot, and the heel pulled up. Okay? And again, later on, you can try this without the skates on. Okay? All right. Let's go to the bar and or your chair. All right, I'm going to tilt the screen up a little bit so that you can see my head a little bit more. Okay. Okay, all good. Thumbs up if you can see my toes and my head. Go like this if you can't. Okay, toes to head. Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we're going to learn how to do pliés in the skate, in parallel. I'm going to show it to you from the side, and I'm going to show it to you from the front. When I do a ballet bar in the Donova method, which is Russian method, which is what I teach, we always do two hands on the bar so that people can feel what parallel, what turnout feels like on both sides. If you start like this, everything gets twisted. This way, everything stays nice and square. So the plie is going to go knees over toes, and you're going to put your hands about shoulder width apart, not here, because this is where your center is. And you're going to bend in such a way that the tailbone is aiming towards the heels, right? So you're not going to be this way, right? Tailbone is aiming towards the heels. The knees are going way over the toes, all right? Back is going to be straight, and plie goes in at least two directions. So from the hips up, you're going to be squeezing in and getting taller as you plie. So think of that. Getting taller, plie, push to come up. Never just straighten by pulling up, but push down into the ice, into the floor. Push to straighten. And now we're going to pull those kneecaps up. See, this is what happens when you lock your knees. Did you see what happened to my legs? They split apart. This is back here. This is unprotected. You want to squeeze in, so it's an isometric squeeze, and pulling up the kneecaps so the quads are tight. So you're doing that. That will protect the whole knee area, front and back. And go into releve. Remember the ball and toe. And keep those ankles and knees together. Squeeze, 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 and lower. And try it again. Getting taller on the plie. And pushing to straighten. Pulling up the knees and squeezing in. And releve. Try not to arch your back. Pushing, ball, toe. Feel those muscles that you felt before, those lower leg muscles working. Thinking about jump, takeoff. Now we're going to try a little bit differently. I'm going to go to the side here. I'm going to move this for you. And plie, 1 and 2. Push to straighten, 3 and 4. Releve, 5 and 6. Now stay on the toe picks and go into a plie. 7, 8, straighten, 1, push, 2, knees pulled up, 3, 4, lower, 5, 6, and now we're going into second position, and we'll try it again in second position. All right, so we're right here, Not way out here, but your hip width apart, okay? And we're going to try that in a second. Demi-plie, tailbone straight down and getting taller. 1 and 2. Push to straighten and make sure this doesn't happen on the straighten. This happens especially with girls here because of the Q angle. When they straighten, the knee comes in. All right, you don't want that to happen. You want them to feel the peroneals, the soleus, everything here to keep that tracking happen. All right, here we go. Plie, getting taller. 1 and 2. Push to straighten and keep those knees over the toes. 3 and 4. Pulling up the knees and relevate. 5 and 6. Don't arch the back. Hold. 7. Lower. 8. Plie again, getting taller. 1 and 2. Push to straighten. 3 and 4. Now we're going into that releve toe ball, ball toe. Stay there on the toe picks and plie. Knees over toes. Push to straighten and feel those muscles working. The kneecaps pulled up and the muscles working. All right, everybody feel your muscles? You feeling those muscles working hard? I think it really helps to be off the ice, doesn't it? To feel what's happening instead of adding it to everything else on the ice. It gets to be too much of a sensory overload and you can't do your best with it. All right, that exercise can be done with 1 foot and should be done with 1 foot only. I don't have time to go into all of them tonight, but just so you can practice going into plie, straightening, you can take the leg out to the side and again to the back. All right, just remember when you do a plie, you need to raise the leg, right, for artistic purposes. We'll get into that in the next exercise. All right, we're doing a stroking exercise. I'm going to do this to the side, and you can watch me first, and then you can try it yourself. This really helps with the toe pointing down, right, which none of us want to see. All right, so we're going to start in that parallel position, but I'm going to do it to the side first. Plie 1 and 2. Take it into a T-stop. 3 and 4. Keep the heel, the whole blade pressing against the floor until count 6, keeping the hips square. Heel down, 5, 6, then point, 7 and 8. How many times when your kids are skating, right, they push up like that, right, and then the toe is down there. All right, so 1 and 2, getting taller, 3 and 4, push that heel down, 5, 6, point, 7 and 8, and then you can get them to learn to balance in that position and come up and do it with the other leg. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, push the heel down, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then holding. The leg doesn't have to be high. It just has to be correctly turned out in the hip socket with a nice lift in the torso. Okay? All right, we're going to go on to the next exercise. Again, please write your notes. And I have 2 more exercises to show you at the bar. And then we can stop for questions and answers, okay? All right, this one is going to use 1 hand on the bar. This is another one you can also do at the boards. And you can put either the hand here or it can come out to second. I usually start with the hand here because the arms are very important and second is not just stuck out to the side. Next time I'll do a a seminar on vertebra, okay, how important arms are. It's not just out here. So let's just do it here for now. And you're in a T-stop, and you're just in a very modified turnout. Okay, you're not working hard at your turnout. Right now, we're working on pointing and flexing and good posture, straight legs. All right, so we're going to do a tendu to the front, a dégagé, and we're going to point hard. And then we're going to flex, and we're going to point again, or flex first, and then turn in, again, without moving that hip, just to see how far that turnout can go, and point. Then we're doing a demi-plie, the leg lifts, and our body gets taller. Take it out to the side without moving this hip. Up, straighten, point, and lower. And then we're going to do it again to the side. Try not to lean. Okay, so the way you don't lean is to push down into the floor with that supporting leg. Pull the kneecap up. Don't rock it back. Don't lock it back. Pull it up and feel it. Push into the floor as the leg rises. Okay, it's like a teeter-totter, right? You're pushing down to get your leverage. Flex. Turn in and out, point, lift the torso in the plie, take it to the back, keep the turnout. This is when I walk around and I turn the hips out, yes. Hold it, straighten, deep breaths, and then we do it again. Back, flex, turn in and out, point and raise the leg. Bring it up, tall, tall, keep lifting, straighten, and lower. So the leg doesn't have to be high. Again, we're looking at alignment. And I know the kids in particular, everyone, because skating is competitive, they want to get their leg up high. But the main point is to have good alignment. After that, we go higher. So you can start at 45 degrees or less, and then work your way up to 90. But if the posture is lifted, it's much more important. And in fact, it looks higher on the ice if your posture is lifted, even if it's only here, than if you're like this, trying to get it up higher. Okay, so alignment is everything. All right, we're going to do one more at the bar, and then I guess I'm going to stop there. I had another one with pied de la main, but that's for advanced students. So I'm going to show you the last exercise for tonight. You're going to have your back to the bar. And we're working on développé. And so again, you're going to start in that T-stop position. Your hands are going to be wherever they can be, where your chest and your shoulders are relaxed, okay? You're lifting up and you're tightening the gluteals. You're lifting those deep stabilizer muscles in your torso. And anytime you lift one leg, the supporting leg is pushing down into the floor. So we're going to go into an attitude where we're really working turnout, which means that the gluteals on both sides are tight. Again, we're going in and out. Take the knee up a little bit higher and try to keep it there, getting taller by pushing down into the ice. And then, or the floor, and down, and hold it there. And now take it up, bring it front, flex, and point, and lower. And then bring it up again, turn in. This is to relax the hip and turn it out. Attitude front, stretch it forward, try to keep your turnout and lower. A lot of times I'll do this with only one skate on because it's easier, the balance. Take it front again, open the hips to the side, trying not to lean, and take it down and lower. Then I'm going to face away from you to do it to the back, all right? So we're going to take that up again, bring the knee front, take it back to passe, knee up. You're going to feel that knee the opposite shoulder attached, all right? You want to feel like this is attached to the opposite shoulder. Take it back, try not to lean forward, and take it out to the side. Keep the turnout, tendu, and close. Take it up, in, out, attitude, lift, bring it down, up, and take it back, and lower. Last one, when you're learning how to do your penché, right, your spiral position, tendu back, lift the leg, and then start to go down with the head lifted and the turnout higher and higher, and keep that banana shape with your cambray back. Deep breaths, and work it again, higher and higher, a little bit at a time, pushing the foot that's in the floor, on the floor, pushing it down to make that stretch, that fulcrum stretch. All right? Okay. I think that that's about all that we have time for today, because I'd like to do questions. So how shall we work these questions? You can either unmute yourself, and we can do one at a time. Does that sound like a good idea? Why don't you do that? Raise your hand if you have a question. I will unmute you. Just raise. Nobody has a question. I'm supposed to not ask that. I'm supposed to say, what questions do you have? I heard that recently. Not do you have. You have so many of them, you don't know where to start, right?
I actually have a question.
Okay, good.
So when standing in like first position with the skates on, you talked about so I did a little bit of more advanced ballet when I was in college, and there was a lot of like turning out and kind of like the sensation of wrapping like your muscles around. I don't know how I would say it.
Yeah,
But like the wrapping sensation. So when I try and have my kids, you said we're not supposed to use lock your knees.
Right.
How do we do that with the skates on? Like if I'm trying to get them to get that feeling of pulling up that I get when I'm in pointe shoes, or if I'm in, my regular ballet shoes, how does that translate with the skates on? Because I don't know, I feel like sometimes the skates are too stiff, where the only way that you can get them to push back is telling them to lock their knees, but you don't want them to lock their knees, right?
Right. They don't have to lock their knees. What we did, were you here for the very first one where I was lying on the floor with the legs?
Yes, the entire time. I've been here the whole time.
All right, yep. I wasn't sure because I was way back there.
No.
Okay, so that's the place where you really work on that, where their legs are up, and you've got to actually go to each student and have them flex, demi-pointe and point, and you got to hold their knees and make sure that they're doing an isometric squeeze in.
That's okay.
Well as pulling up. So that's the key. It's the isometric squeeze in, because then you won't lock your legs. Once they get that feeling, they'll be able to do it on one foot.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. Great. Anybody else? Questions? Someone has my last name, yeah. All right, Thomas. Okay, what questions do you have? I am sure there are no stupid questions. We do know this, right? Okay, please ask away. Even if it's something we didn't work on.
Just to clarify the locking the knees.
Yeah.
So instead of saying like lock your knees, think more like bring them in like towards each other. Is that what we were trying to get at?
Yeah, a couple of things. Yes. In towards each other, not like you want to bring the knees into each other, but what you want to do is, okay, I'm going to stand back here and show you. Okay, so a lot of times when a person says lock your knees, they really rock the knees back. They rock, R-O-C, them back, so that you get that kind of a thing happening where all of these tendons are exposed to danger, right? Because they're not protected. So you want an isometric squeeze. You don't want the knees coming in, but you want an isometric squeeze, and you want the kneecaps to pull up so that the quads are tight. I have my little kids stand next to a mirror, and we do a little knee dance. You'll see 2 lumps on your knees when the knees are pulled up. And when they're not, there's only 1 lump. And when you pull it up, it kind of pops up. So I'll make a little face on their knees, and they'll just pop one knee up and then the other knee up. And they learn how to use their kneecaps, pulling up as well as pushing down into the floor, right? You can't see probably, but if you look at your own knees, when they're relaxed, there's only 1 lump. When you pull them up, there's 2 lumps and the quads are tight, all right? So you can actually lock your knee without pulling the kneecap up. And that's bad news, because then you are not engaging. It's like if you go, if you've ever been camping and you have a shock cord inside of a steel rod that puts the what am I trying to say? The tent together, all right? You have all these pieces of steel rod and there's a shock cord inside. That pulling up the knees is like the shock cord inside the steel rod. It makes a transition and a conduit for all the strength, all right? If you lock the knees and drop those knees down, then you've lost the conduit. You've lost the full strength of that whole conduit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand it much better now. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Even something we didn't talk about? Nope. All good? Well, all righty then.
Hi.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you recommend when you do the off ice classes or even the on ice classes, well, probably on ice, but do you recommend separating age levels, like you know, the little ones from the adults, or do you just go by level?
No, I really don't. And I know this is something that is very, very difficult because this is the way figure skating is set up. But in any kind of art in particular, like ballet, we don't go by levels, we go by age, because there are certain things that kids understand at different ages. You know, this is what pedagogy is all about, how to teach children. And at certain ages, they can comprehend certain things. So you might have a very, very talented 7-year-old, but there are just some things that they will not be able to comprehend. That mind-body connection won't happen until they're 10 or even older sometimes. So if you can possibly separate them by age, that would be the best thing. They will learn faster doing that. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else before we end? Yes?
Hi, Annette. I was wondering, so we talked about locking of the knees, but I also have a lot of students who already lock their knees, and what's the best way for me to explain the knee bend, to get them to bend in their knees? Since I took dance, some of them haven't had dance. I show them, I explain what a plie is, and they still don't get it, and they're like, walking like a penguin on the ice because their legs are locked. So what would be a good way for me to explain a nice knee bend that they can understand it, to get them from locking, to unlock their knees, basically?
To unlock their knees. Okay, well, a plie and locking their knees is complete opposite, which obviously so the locking of the knees is, again, we have to talk about isometrics and pulling up the knees, and you will have to do, eventually you have to do hands-on. That's just the way it is, because there are a lot of things that you just verbally, it's not going to work, especially for kids. They need hands-on. The plie, you can use words like melting from the hips down, but lifting up from the waist up. It's going to have to be one of those things, like get silly putty or one of those lava lights.
Okay.
Melting down and coming up at the same time. So you're just going to have to use your imagination. We will get into it because you're taking my class, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Kate, we got to go, right?
Yes, thank you all so much for being here. And I apologize again for the late start. Just something came up, but we will definitely see you all. Next month is July 20th, I believe. And we wanted to make sure you all knew that we switched. It's yoga, the yoga class with Lauren, and that's going to be in July, and then August is going to be Kendall's modern techniques. So just in case you all didn't see that in the email, we did have to switch those dates, but we will see you guys then. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited, and we will send this out in a Zoom recording on YouTube. It'll be a private link as well. So we'll send this out afterwards in a couple days. So.
Right.
If you have any questions for me, let me know. Annette, thank you so much for your time and your expertise.
You're welcome. It was fun. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it very much. Oh, I have a chat, something in the chat. Ah, great. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you all. Thanks for being here.
It's better be.